Hello everybody. I'm so glad you're here tonight, and I'm really excited to do another cocktail class for you. These are inspired cocktails, so I hope you're ready to enjoy yourself and have a drink as we go along. So I did want to thank you again for coming. My name is Liz Barber. My company is The Creative Feast. And, this is a crazy time, and so there have been a lot of changes for my business that I've been able to do within the last 3 days. So as you can tell, obviously I've been doing a lot of videos. I'm trying to get a lot of practice. So, you allowing me to do this for you is really so helpful. But what am I really gearing up for? So many of you may know that I do cooking demonstrations at libraries and garden clubs, for women's clubs. I do them for businesses, for wellness groups. I do them for teacher staff, any kind of group that needs a speaker, and food brings everybody. So that's what I do. But with all that's going on with the COVID-19, obviously all of my programs have been canceled. So they've been canceled, now they're starting to be canceled into June and July. So rather than kind of sit back, I decided to move forward and go ahead and start doing virtual cooking demonstrations. So yes, I'm doing them on Facebook, and I will continue to do them on Facebook every Tuesday and Friday evening at 5 o'clock. Actually, coming up next Tuesday, I'm going to do pantry cooking. A lot of you were very interested in that, so I'm going to give you a tour of my pantry, and then I'm going to go ahead and make a couple of recipes. It'll be a little bit of a longer class, but I'll hope to give you some really good tips. And then on Friday next week, we're going to do low-carb side dishes for Easter. I know a lot of you usually have a big family meal for Easter, or for the holidays in general, and this year it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to maybe introduce you to some new recipes that will help you to feel energized after your meal is over. But anyway, so those are going to be continuous. The other thing that I'm doing is I have decided to go online virtually and do my programs for public locations. So I already have libraries all over Massachusetts contacting me, and in New Hampshire, to find out, can we do your program virtually? And I am this weekend going to button that all up. All of the information is on my website, so if you want to go to thecreativefeast.com, you can see what I have so far. I will be creating some classes specifically dealing with, being in your home, the pantry class and a few others, but I'll continue on with my popular ones, the Instant Pot, the air fryer. I'm thinking of doing one on kitchen gadgets to show you how to, use them. A lot of ideas going around in my head, but it's an extremely busy time for me. And so that's what's coming up. But right now, I want to make you some cocktails. Okay, so let's get going on that. And while you're watching this, share the video now. You can bring some friends in at this moment, and they can join us. So go ahead and share the video. Share my Facebook page. Make sure you like it. Make sure you follow it, and you'll get all these notifications as I, learn my way through all of this. So we're going to do 3 cocktails. We're going to do a margarita, and this margarita is my favorite margarita. And for those of you who summer on the Cape, or you have a house on the Cape, and you frequent in Falmouth, Añejo, this is my takeoff of their jalapeno cucumber margarita. It is a favorite of mine, and I have 2 wonderful friends, Suzanne and Susan, and their families, who include us so many times down on the Cape. And it's always fun to go to Añejo. If you can squeeze in the bar, you often have to wait a long time to get these margaritas. So that's the first one I'm going to do for you. And then I'm going to do a cocktail that was introduced to me by my sister, Evans, and she is married to Lorenzo, who his family is living in Milan right now, and so they are going through the worst of what we could ever imagine. And so they're all healthy, thank goodness, and I am thinking of them all the time. And so thinking of them and doing a Negroni spagliato, which means mistake. So apparently this drink originally has gin in it, and the bartender made a little bit of mistake, and you'll see what that was when we come up with the ingredients for that. And then the final recipe I'm going to do for you is we're going to make a White Russian, but we're going to make a low-carb White Russian, and you're going to love it. Okay, so forget all the sugar. We're going to go full on flavor in a couple of different ways, and we'll talk a little bit about making low-carb cocktails for the future. So let's get going. The first thing, and I talked a little bit about this last week, cocktails generally have a formula. There's the alcohol, there's some kind of a mixer, and oftentimes the mixer has sugar in it, or you have a simple syrup, all right? So you don't have to buy it. You can make it so easily yourself. So the formula for a simple sugar is 1 part water, 1 part sugar, all right? Now, usually you will see that you put that combination in a saucepan and you heat it up on your stove. What's the point of that? It's just to melt the sugar. However, what I have come to find out is I don't have to put it on the stove. Here is 1/4 cup water, 1/4 cup sugar, and I'm just going to give that a stir, and every few minutes I'm going to give that a stir, and that is going to be my simple syrup, okay? So right now you can see that it's cloudy, and that's the sugar. It's going to dissolve. It's going to take a little bit of time, and we're going to wait for that to happen for our cocktail. All right, so I'll give that a stir every once in a while. I wanted to show you this simple syrup. Now, this is the recipe I just told you, 1 part water, 1 part sugar. I put it in a saucepan, and floating in here is some fresh rosemary. So once the sugar dissolves, the water comes to a simmer. You turn off the heat and you drop in the rosemary, or you can start it from the start because you're only going to simmer it, for maybe 3 minutes. The point is that the heat will bring out the oils of the rosemary and really infuse this with a nice rosemary flavor. So now we have our rosemary simple syrup. We just let it sit after it's come to a simmer and the sugar has dissolved. Turn off the heat. Let this sit until it cools down, and then refrigerate it for when you're going to use it for one of your drinks, okay? So you can, as I showed you last week, you can put it into squeeze bottles like this. This is a honey simple syrup, 1 part honey, 1 part water. I put this in the microwave because the honey will stay solid unless you heat it up. And then this goes right into my refrigerator, and it stays for, a couple of weeks, no problem. Okay, you do want to refrigerate these because they will spoil otherwise. And I think those were the syrups that I wanted to show you. There's just so many ways you can change up a syrup, and as you know, cocktails are really popular now, and every bartender is coming up with a great idea of what can I infuse in my simple syrup, or how can I infuse my alcohol to make something more flavorful. I have taken gin, just take a Beefeater's gin, don't buy anything fancy, and I take like 5 spears of lavender and stick those right into the bottle. You do, the smaller bottle of the gin, and stick them right in there. Leave it for about, overnight. However strong you want it, and then just remove the lavender, and now you have a lavender infused gin. Now, if you're a fan of Bee's Knees like I am, which is a gin and lemon cocktail, the lavender and the lemon go beautifully, and then I'll use a little bit of a honey simple syrup, so that makes a really nice cocktail. Okay, so we have our simple syrups. Again, I'm going to come back and I'm going to continue to stir this, just trying to dissolve that sugar. All right, now this cocktail can be made as simply as this. You can, now this is an English cucumber. You can use a regular cucumber if you want. The regular cucumber is just going to have more water in it, okay? So you can take your cucumber, and this is just going to be a rough chop. I can cut this in half. Let me move these out of the way so you can see. Okay, so I'm going to cut these, and we're going to just chunk these up, all right? Now, if you don't, we're going to put it in the blender. If you don't want to do that, you could just slice your cucumber nice and thin. I would go, you know, this is a little bit thick. I would go thinner than that. Put it in the bottom of your glass. You could cut up a jalapeno, seed it, because the seed is going to be too strong. And then you can take your muddler and you can muddle that in the bottom of your glass, and that's going to give you a cucumber jalapeno flavor for your drink. But I like to make a bunch of this, and then I just stick it in the freezer, and I stick it in small enough containers so that you know, maybe I'll have enough in one container for 4 margaritas, and then thaw that out so that they don't all you know, go bad just waiting for you to come around. Although I can't imagine making margarita ingredients wait around for too long, right? All right, so now we have our blender, and I'm going to add my cucumber in here, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of water. You can mash this down, but remember, having no liquid on the bottom is going to make this really difficult for that blender, the blades, to catch the cucumber. So maybe about 1/4 of a cup or 1/2 cup. You're going to strain this out anyway, and so having a little extra water isn't going to do it any harm. All right, so we have that in there. And then we're going to take our jalapeno, okay? And with this, what you want to do is you want to slice it in half lengthwise. Now, we have our seeds in here. We want to make sure to get those out. And I thought I had a spoon here. Hold on. So we have our spoon, and I'm going to go ahead, okay, and just scrape that out and take off the stem, and do it for this one too. Now, just be careful. You don't want to then do this and touch your eyes, all right? The perfect COVID-19 rule, don't touch your eyes, and don't do it with the jalapeno seeds because they are going to be super hot. That's why we're taking them out, obviously. Okay, now we're just going to give this a rough chop, and then we're going to throw this in our blender. Okay, and we're going to have a little bit of noise here, so I can turn, as I turn this on. That took so long. All right, so now we have this wonderful pulp. And we're going to go ahead and strain that. So here I have a container and I have a strainer. I'm a collector of strainers. I have them in all different sizes. Now I'm just going to pour it in there, and then take a little ladle or a regular ladle if you can. And if you swirl this around, you're going to get your juice extracted, okay? And that's how we make this wonderful jalapeno cucumber mixer. Now the pulp you're going to just toss out, or I don't know, I was trying to think of something. I mean, what if you wanted to just have a thick drink? You could keep the pulp in. Not a problem, whatever you want to do. Okay, so we've got that, all right? So now we have our pulp all set. All right, so beautiful, all right? And then we're going to go ahead and we need lime juice for this. So as I told you last week, have a lot of these little bottles, all right? You can do lemon juice, lime juice, have those all ready. So with a lime, when we are picking lemons or limes, we want to make sure that we get the roundest ones that we can. I seem to have lost my way here in the Ethernet. So we're going to, in order to get this juicing easily, what you want to do is you want to take your lime and press on it as you roll it, and that will essentially make it nice and pliable, and it'll help it to make it easier to juice. Cut this lime in half, and then take a fork. Forget the lemon reamers. They just don't get as much, and it's not as easy. So by putting this in the palm of your hand, just turn this, and you can get a lot of that juice out of there. Okay, and these limes have no seeds, so I don't have to worry about straining this out. What I'm looking for is about 1/4 of a cup for one drink. So imagine you're going to need quite a few if you're going to do a bunch. Now, you may be a Rose's lime fan, and for me, in a pinch, I'll go with that because it's already sweetened. It's got the lime flavor. But when we, really want to make an excellent cocktail, go for the skinny cocktail where you're just using lime juice. You're allowing the mixers to be the sweetener, and then you don't need to add a simple syrup. So here, can you see that this has pretty much dissolved? Okay. You can also use the recipe that I have provided for you calls for an agave syrup. You can use that as well, but you don't have to go out and buy it. Now, I'm going to make this without any simple syrup. Again, I'm trying to go a little low carb, but the mixers will have sweeteners in them. So that's something I want to be aware of. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I was trying to find my feed and I couldn't find it. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get this cocktail mixed up. All right, so we're going to get our mixing cup. Add in plenty of ice. Now, I watched and read about different kinds of tequila to use, so I made the notes in the recipe. The recipe originally called for a silver, so that's the clear silver, which one person that I listened to was talking about a really bright flavor with a silver, as opposed to a gold, which tends to have more of a bourbon-y essence to it. So today I'm going to use, I like bourbon, I like whiskey, I like a warm finish. So I'm going to be using, this is Grand Mayan, and this was a gift from a dear friend. So it's a really special tequila. And so I'm going to be using this, and we're going to do 2 ounces of that. And, oh no, there's an extra ounce and then it's empty. In it goes. Okay, because we wouldn't want to leave just an ounce of tequila, right? So, beautiful bottle, I'll keep that for something special. Then we're going to use our orange liqueur, which Cointreau is one that a lot of people use. I just bought this one, thought I'd give it a try. You can use just a simple triple sec, okay? Again, I would use this with the silver for the color and to keep it, bright, as that particular author said. But in this case, we're going to use, this is a Bouchon. This is a French blend of fine cognac and orange essence. So this is going to take the place of our Cointreau. And we're going to use 1 ounce of that. All right. And then we have our lime juice. And we're going to use 1 ounce of that. fresh lime juice, wonderful. And then it calls for the agave syrup, but I'm going to let the Cointreau do the sweetening for me. So I'm going to skip that. And then we're going to use 1 ounce of our special jalapeno cucumber mixture. And add that right in there. All right. And now, oh, here we go. We're going to give that a good shake. You want to do this for about 30 seconds. Again, we want to frost the outside of here. It also breaks up the ice, which then makes it more of a frothy cocktail. So we're going to get our glass ready. So we have our, I don't have margarita glasses. This is the, closest thing we have to it. I do like my margaritas on the rocks, so I will add some of the ice to this. I'm just rimming the outside of my glass and then just doing half of the glass in salt and the other half as it is, just so I have a little bit of lime coming off of here and a little bit of salt coming off the other side. All right. And then out that comes, and we're going to go ahead and pour this right in. All right, and I'll add a couple of those ice cubes and fill that. Again, go ahead and pour the whole bunch of goodness right into a tall glass if you like. All right? So there we go. This is our first cocktail. Oh, and I'm going to drop in my lime and try a floater. This is something I had seen at a restaurant. Kind of liked the idea. And there we are. I'll take a taste. Oh, spillage. Oh my gosh, so this is perfect. This is exactly my añejo, friends. This is it. Excellent. All right. So we're going to go ahead and take this and put this right here. And we'll go on to our next cocktail. I'm going to take just a second. I want to read some of what you guys have to say. Becky, I wonder if you can sub in a sugar substitute. Okay. Yes, you can. You can, but I'm going to encourage you to try it without first and see how that is. The interesting thing is cucumbers are a fruit. So they actually have their own little bit of sweetness to that. But because I figured somebody would ask that question, I do have a liquid stevia. You can put a little bit of that in. Just remember, when you're using something like stevia, it's super, super sweet. So find that artificial sweetener that you like that doesn't leave that funky aftertaste. Erythritol is one, and some of them do melt pretty well. But the other thing to remember is it's only a little teaspoon of a simple syrup. So remember, our simple syrup, we've already diluted the sugar in half. So maybe that's not necessary. It's entirely up to you. What kind of blender do I have? Oh, this is a Cuisinart, and I have the Vitamix, but that thing is just too big and it's too loud for when I do the programs here. So can you show us the orange liquor bottle you used? Yes, I can. And so I got this, I don't know how well you can see that, all right? But if you want to, I will go back through these messages and I will fill that in for you so you know what it is, okay? Let's see. Again, I just wanted to read through. When this is over, you are requesting a girls' night out at my place. Oh, Becky, well, that could be arranged. Oh, and Becky wants deviled eggs for Easter. Ooh, I will do that for sure. I got some good ideas. Okay, so let's go on to our next cocktail. So the next one is going to be the Negroni. And this is a wonderful easy cocktail to do. Oh, I'm bringing you back to my simple syrup that we just let the sugar melt in there, okay? Really kind of easy. I'm just gonna set that aside. So the Negroni is typically is served in a low ball or a rocks glass, but I thought I would get a little bit, oh no, I'm gonna do it in this. The next one is gonna be in that large one. So we have our rocks glass, and this is not a shaken cocktail. This is simply a stirred cocktail. You don't want to infuse too much air in there because we're going to be topping it off with something pretty fun. So here we have our Campari. Now Campari is, I have to admit, it is a flavor profile that not everybody loves. It's a bitter, it is an aperitif. It's intended to help with digestion. So it's got a lot of flavor to it. However, I have grown to really enjoy it in various ways. There's so many different ways to make a Negroni, so many different ways to use Campari. So something I do enjoy having on hand, and it's a beautiful color in a cocktail. So I'm going to go ahead and add my ice cubes. And here I'm just going to add 2 large square ice cubes, all right? And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do, it's a very simple recipe. It's 1 ounce of each item that we're going to put in there. So we've got 1 ounce of the Campari, okay? And then we have 1 ounce of sweet vermouth. Now you may, not be familiar with sweet vermouth, but it is a wonderful cooking wine if you want to make a really rich, like a pork dish, pan-seared pork, and making a pan sauce using a sweet vermouth can give you a really nice finish to that. So it is something I like to have on hand as well. So we're going to use 1 ounce of that, okay? And then we're just going to take our stir, and we're just going to stir this around. The idea is just to cool down, chill the liquors in here. All right. And then we have our beautiful finish. Instead of gin, the bartender apparently reached and grabbed a sparkling wine or Prosecco. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be using. So we're going to take this little cage off here. Hold it away from your face. I always take a towel, grab the top, and give it a nice pop, okay? And you can, with a regular wine corker, you can close this off and keep it in the refrigerator and use it for a lot of different things. I was just trying to think, what would I mean, it's just me and Ted at home now. What would we use this for? So I might make a zabayon, which is a custard made on the stove. So that would be a nice dessert custard to make with this. Okay, so we're going to do about 1 ounce, but you can do a little bit more if you want, and just let that float right on the top. Now we don't want to do any stirring at this point because we don't want to disturb the bubbles of the Prosecco. And so now we're going to take an orange, beautiful orange, slice that nice and thin, and pop that on the side of our glass. And there we have our Negroni. Oh, it's perfect. Exactly what I love to have, especially in an evening. I have a few little bites to eat after here. Some nice salty things to nibble on. I'm going to share that with you, and you'll see why I love the Negroni. All right, so now our final cocktail is going to be that low-carb White Russian. All right, so let's give that a try. Again, it is a cocktail that is just a stirred cocktail. So I brought out a special glass. This is a brandy glass that I have, but you can make it in that low ball glass if you want. I'm going to go ahead and add our ice. okay? And we have our ice in there, and then we're going to go ahead and add our ingredients. So typically a White Russian is made with Kahlua, which is a flavored, coffee flavored liqueur, which has a lot of sugar in it. So we're going to change that up a little bit. Remember, this is going to be low carb. So we do have our vodka. So we're going to do let me just rinse this out. We're going to do 2 ounces of our vodka. All right. And then we're going to add our coffee. So this is, I have an espresso machine, but you can use a strong coffee if you want. You want to have a nice rich coffee flavor to it. We're going to do 2 ounces of that. Remember that this has been chilled, so it's nice and cold. We don't want to use hot coffee because that would just ruin the whole drink, okay? So we're going to add that in with our vodka, and then we're going to give that a stir. So with the low carb, I did want to give you a few ideas and things to think about. So, number 1, how do you make a low carb drink? Well, first of all, it matters what alcohol you use. You only want to use a straight spirit. So in other words, in this drink, the Kahlua is out. Any kind of a flavored drink, like if you wanted to do a Bailey's, no fair, because that has a lot of sugar in it, right? So we want to stick strictly with vodka, gin, tequila, brandy, rum, whiskey. Sounds pretty good, right? No carbs in any of those, right? So start with those right away, which you would typically, and that would be no carbs. Then we've added to it the coffee, which we know, no carbs, okay? And then you want to be using, instead of sweetened mixers, okay, so this is where you have to watch out what kind of a sweetener you're using. Are you using a simple syrup, which definitely has sugar in it, has carbs in it? We have other mixers, fruit juices. You have to be careful. Yes, you can use a splash, but you know, we're not talking about a vodka and orange juice, all right, because that is going to have a lot of carbohydrates in it, right? So we want to make a cocktail that has an orange essence to it by using just a little bit of that orange juice. So maybe you're going to mix a few things in there. You saw that when we made this cucumber puree, that is very low in carbs. You could use that cucumber puree to your advantage if you wanted to. You could use lemon juice, lime, just a little bit of a wedge. You could brew tea, make very strong herbal tea, and use that herbal tea as one of your mixers. Like a chamomile might be nice with lemon and gin, and then maybe you do just a little bit of a simple syrup. So keep that simple syrup low, but push up the flavor with these other additions. Muddling some mint or basil or even rosemary in the bottom of a glass will give you a burst of flavor. Cilantro is a really nice one. And then the other mixes that we can use, remember, we can go in another direction and use a very high fat mixer, like coconut milk out of the can, not in the canister, the paper canister that you get over in the dairy. Okay, that's just watered down coconut. All right, you want the coconut milk in the can that has all the fat and all the coconut flavor. So last night when I was trying out this drink, I made it with the coconut milk, and it was really delicious, but it had a richness to it because it's got all of that fat in it. So when you make a White Russian, do heavy cream, okay? So we're going to use heavy cream, and we're going to use 2 ounces of heavy cream. Okay, so we've stirred our coffee and our vodka, and then we're just going to drop this in. Now let's see how pretty that is. There we go. Perfect, just like that. Okay, now the recipe called for shaved chocolate, which of course I forgot to put on the table. So what I would do is take some chocolate shavings, nice thick shavings, and put them on top. It's got to be a dark chocolate, right? Because a dark chocolate is lower in carbs than a milk chocolate or a bittersweet chocolate. So we want to go dark on that. And that's it. These are our 3 cocktails. We are all set. We have an amazing array of colors with our cocktails, flavors with our cocktails. Let me see if I can bring this into view for you. And I think we are going to have a nice evening celebrating with ourselves. Maybe you're doing it virtually with a group of friends, and I hope you are. Again, I'm going to ask you in closing to share this video with your friends. Share the Facebook page. I'm just trying to get the word out. I will be doing these every Tuesday and Friday evening at 5 p.m. Coming up is the pantry class on Tuesday, and Friday is going to be low carb. I'm going to do some low carb side dishes. And before I go, let's just see if we have any other comments. Let's see. Oh, great to see so many people. And how much coconut milk would you add instead of the heavy cream? Oh, same amount, 2 ounces. It's equal. Okay, so you're just substituting one for the other. All right. So again, I want to thank you all for bringing me into your home. Here's a little bit of an appetizer, a little something to nibble on. I'm going to have my Negroni. Going to start with that, and I want to thank you all for coming, for bringing me into your home. And please, if you have any ideas of what kind of classes you want to see, just leave them in the comments. You can email me directly if you'd like. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, that you try to get yourself out. I think the sun is coming. Go for a walk if you can. If you can't, just walk up and down the stairs. But just make sure that you take care of yourself, okay? Thank you so much.